It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome into another edition of Musso at the Box. Glad to have you all with me here today. Fired up to get today's episode off and running, man. I am looking forward to this conversation that we're about to have about LSU baseball. On the show today, what I want to do is I want to sit here and discuss, have open discussion, if LSU is starting to turn the corner. Hear me out. I understand. They're 5-13. They couldn't even sweep Missouri. I get it. I've heard all the talk. I understand. But there are trends that are starting to pop up with this team recently that are encouraging and that could be a sign of them turning the corner. And I think what we all can agree on, whether you agree with that or not, hear me out. Let me go through these trends. And what we all can agree on is that's a good thing at this point in the season. So settle in. That's what we're going to do here today, and I'm fired up to get into it. Y'all smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed up to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Remember, get subscribed up on your favorite podcast app as well. There's an audio-only version of this that is posted each day. Great for workout, or you're just, going for a walk, riding in the car, whatever it is. And, of course, you can follow me on all social medias. That's greatly appreciated as well. And let's dive right in without any further ado. For those of you that think there's just a lot of sunshine on this show, get ready, because here comes a little bit. You have my permission to say this is sunshine being pumped only if you sit here and listen to what I have to say. Because there are trends with this LSU team right now that are encouraging. We talk about it all the time with baseball. All the time. It's true in sports in general, but especially in baseball. Teams and players are allowed to improve. You are allowed to get better. You are not the same team on April 25th, April 24th, April 26th, whenever, that you are on February 17th, 18th, 19th, whenever. That is always the case. A team will play its worst game of the year. A team will play its best game of the year. That is always the case. When you look at baseball, a team will play their worst stretch of baseball. A team will play their best stretch of baseball. You want the recent example? Look at last year's team for LSU. Their worst stretch of baseball were those back-to-back series against Auburn and Mississippi State. Two teams that were in the basement of the league, and you lost series to both of them. One at home, one on the road, and you got run ruled in there as well. And then in June, for 2 weeks in Omaha, you played the best baseball of the year, and you won the national championship. I'm not saying that's the only reason that team won. They were obviously immensely talented. They were number one for the majority of the year, but it just illustrates the point. LSU this year has clearly played their worst baseball. It was the first 5 weeks of conference play. Clearly, there is no arguing that was their worst baseball. But are they now starting to play their best baseball? That's the question. Are they starting to? Look, I'm not going to sit here I'm telling you, this is going to sound very positive. Here's what I'm not telling you. All right, let me be clear. Here's what I'm not telling you about this LSU baseball team right now. I am not telling you that they are one of the best teams in the country. I am not telling you they're going to go on a run and go to Omaha. I am not even telling you that they are going to make the postseason, let alone win a game there. But what I am going to say, what the point of this is it looks like they're starting to improve and turn the corner. And if they are, that could lead to them making a run to the postseason. What happens when you get there? You figure that out. So I've said that in a variety of different ways a couple different times to start this show. I'm sure all of you are sitting there going, all right, Musso, we get it. What are these trends you're talking about? Let's dive right into them. What did we talk about with this LSU team all year? Even back during the preseason scrimmages. What did we talk about? The offense would be slow. The pitching needs to carry them. The pitching is going to be the strength of this team. Well, y'all, that was not the case. The offense started slow for sure and continued slow for sure. But the pitching didn't carry them. The pitching let you down. We sat here numerous times, time after time, and called it their biggest weakness, their biggest issue, because it was supposed to carry them, and it wasn't doing that. Both of those things are improving. Let's start offensively, because that is the most encouraging part of this. LSU has won 4 out of 5 games. That in and of itself is awesome. And there's one thing I'm really looking forward to come Friday night when LSU faces Auburn. They have a chance to win 3 games in a row for the first time in a while. I'll just put it at that. If they actually accomplish it, we'll talk a little bit more, but it's been a long time. But right now, you've won 4 out of 5. In your last 5 games, LSU has scored 6 or more runs each time. And I know what you might say. Musso, they played UNO, Nichols, and Missouri. And you know what? You're absolutely right. That's who they played. And Nichols is a very good team. They have a chance to be in the NCAA tournament, but nobody is going to compare that to a top flight schedule. I get it, especially considering what you just came off of in, the first 5 weeks of conference play, in the first half of SEC play. So I get that. My counter argument to that is LSU has not had a stretch at all this year where they have scored 6 or more runs in 5 straight games. And y'all, LSU's pre-conference schedule were nothing to write home about. LSU's non-conference strength of schedule is 131st in the country. That ain't good. So take that, like if you're going to be the guy or the girl or the person, whatever you are, who says, look who they played in that stretch. They've won 4 or 5. They scored all those runs. Look who they played. Well, LSU played VMI, and LSU played Central Arkansas. I mean, and you go down the LSU played North Dakota State in the pre-conference. Who else was it? Northern Illinois, Stony Brook. In all those stretches, LSU did not have 5 straight games where they scored 6 or more runs. You do now. So why? And there's a couple different reasons, and it's the emergence of guys that you were waiting on. And one of those is Paxton Cing, who everybody wanted to be the child over an anthill with the magnifying glass to. Paxton Cing, first of all, is on a 4-game hitting streak. And in his last, let me pull it up. I don't want to misspeak here. Hold on. Paxton Cing, in his last, what is that? Oh, that's not what we clicked on. Pop-ups, y'all. They'll get you. Excuse me. I'm sorry. This is horrible radio podcasting stuff here. Paxton Cing, since the Vanderbilt series. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In his last 11 games, and I highlight the Vanderbilt series because that is where we really were like, okay, those at-bats are starting to look better. He had the 2 doubles that weekend. It's like, they're starting to look better. In those last 11 games, Paxton Cing is hitting .294. just a shade under 300. That is how he has raised his average from 150 or whatever it was to 223. Is 223 great? No. But 294 across your last 11 is, that's real good. That's more of what you thought. People are allowed to get better. Guys are allowed to improve. Paxton Cing has done that over the course of the season. Now, can he keep it going? You hope. Even when he's not getting hits, he's reaching base. He's got 9 walks in those 11 games to go along with that 294 average. That's what you want at the top of your lineup. Like, that's a huge step. And it's making your offense better. Stephen Milam. Here's what Jay Johnson had to say after LSU's victory over Nichols in the midweek about Stephen Milam.
Yeah, he's a really good hitter, and I think he's understanding the strike zone a little bit better, understanding the pitches that he can hit with authority and committing to get him in that zone. And Coach Wanaka's done a good job with him. And, every at-bat is, in every inning he plays on defense seems like a learning thing. And he's playing his best baseball so far right now, which is a good thing for our team.
Right there at the end. He's playing his best baseball right now, and that's a good thing for our team. Stephen Milam has been great in the field for LSU. Great in the field for LSU this year. That I don't even really think that's debatable. You saw some inconsistency at the plate towards the middle of the season, which is to be expected from a freshman, especially when you're going through the gauntlet of SEC pitching that LSU had to face. But what the head coach just told you, not me telling you, the head coach telling you he's playing his best baseball right now of the season. And I'm here to tell you a lot of that, and Jay went through it all, offense, defense, everything. I'm here to tell you it's mainly on offense. Stephen Milam has a 6-game hitting streak right now, but moreover than that, he has a hit in 11 of his last 12 games. He's hit his first 2 home runs in that stretch. It's starting to click for him. It clicked for him real early in pre-conference play. Like, it looked like there was no jump for him from high school baseball in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which Jay Johnson referred to earlier this season as the moon, as SEC baseball as the moon compared to high school baseball in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And it looked like there was no jump for him into college baseball in the pre-conference. When he got into the SEC play, there was. Now, he's got a hit in his last 11 out of his last 12 and his last 6. And that dates back to Vanderbilt in Tennessee and all those series where you faced really good pitching. It's starting to click for him now at this level. And that's a really good thing. Michael Braswell's on an 8-game hitting streak. That's a really good thing. We've talked about the emergence of Ashton Larson so far this week. Guy's hitting .395 in conference play as a freshman. That's a really good thing. And all of those, and there's others. I mean, Tommy White's obviously Tommy White. Jared Jones has had a great year. But the addition of Paxton Cing starting to look like he's figuring it out, Stephen Milam looking like he's starting to get comfortable in conference play, Ashton Larson, bursting onto the scene. You add that in with the season that Michael Braswell has had, that Tommy White has had, that Jared Jones has had, and all of a sudden now you got a lineup. Now you got a lineup. Because you're still getting production here and there out of Hayden Travinski. Like, Hayden Travinski looks like he's struggling a lot. He's still hitting .281 in conference play. Like, he's still your 4th leading hitter in SEC play. Looks like he's struggling, okay, but that gives you 7 really good hitters. You've got length in the lineup now. And that's also why you're seeing them continue to run those guys out there. We've asked them all year to settle on a lineup. They're starting to settle on a lineup. I'd go as far as to say they have settled on a lineup. There's a couple positions you might interchange. Who plays the 3rd outfield spot? Right now it's going to probably be between Josh Pearson and Mac Bingham. And that could very well go lefty-righty on the mound. And who do you want catching? Right now, it's going to be Alex Milazzo because Brady Neal's dealing with a little shoulder soreness. But it's the emergence of those guys that you were waiting to take the next step who are starting to do so that are leading to this offense being more successful. Now, can they keep it up? On the mound, here's an encouraging trend for you on the mound. We'll go right back, this time, to the midweek game versus McNeese. So you'll remember the series prior to that was Vanderbilt, and LSU did not pitch well. You just didn't. LSU got out to that big lead in game one. You let Vanderbilt claw back to where you had to use Griffin Herring in that game. And then your bullpens handed your pitching staff, not just your bullpen, your pitching staffs handed 4 different leads in that game. Number 2, you blew all of them. You end up blowing that game late. You lose, then you get run ruled in game number 3. You did not pitch well, and you were in desperate need of a bounce back. And you got that against McNeese, a shutout, a run rule, but a shutout nonetheless. And then you go to Tennessee, and for the first, 25 innings of that series, you pitched great against arguably the nation's best offense. You got a really gritty start out of Gage jump that weekend. Your defense let you down a little bit. Luke Holman carried a no-hitter into the 6th inning. Nate Ackenhausen got you off to a great start. And, eventually Tennessee broke through. Christian Moore hit a 3-run bomb and, whatever. Eventually they broke through in like the 8th inning of that series on Sunday. But you had pitched really well, and all of that was coming off of a bad weekend against Vanderbilt. A shutout, and then in a small ballpark on the road in a hostile environment against arguably the nation's top offense, you showed up well. You did the same thing against UNO in the midweek, pitched really well there. You had the complete game by Gage jump, and now you started to rattle off these good performances, and you're coming off of a shutout of Nichols. LSU in that stretch from McNeese State through Tennessee to right now has a team ERA of 3.50. That is a full run lower than their team ERA for the entire season overall. That's a positive. I think we can all understand about that. And it is more than 3 full runs lower than their team ERA in conference play. Like, that's a really positive trend. Now, how have you gotten to that? Some of it can be competition, sure, but don't forget the Tennessee series is in there. In that stretch we're basing this on. It's kind of the same thing as the offense. You've had guys emerge. You had guys picked out that you thought were going to contribute on this team, and they haven't. So you had to find others, and you have. Griffin Herring has been a massive part of that. Griffin Herring, though, you thought would contribute. He was a big part of last year's team, and he's just taken a massive step forward. But a guy like Aiden Moffitt, I know it didn't go great for him Saturday at Missouri. I get that. But that's a guy that couldn't even get outs, like literally could not get outs for you last year, and is now being able to pitch on SEC weekends. That's a big step forward. Sam Dutton, that's a step forward. Nate Ackenhausen looks a lot more comfortable in this role as a quote-unquote opener on Sundays than he did long relief out of the bullpen. That's a step forward. That's one of the guys you were counting on and just really wasn't performing quite up to par. Can he in this role? Sure. Gage Jump took a major step forward. At least it looks like it in his last start. Key's going to be, can you keep going with that? There's guys stepping up. There's guys improving. Because as we started this entire thing saying, you're not the same team at the end of April that you are, the middle of February. Ever. In any season, ever. For any team, ever. You're not. And they aren't right now either. So what I'm proposing with this is, are they getting ready to make a run? Because those trends are overtly positive that we just went through. Oh, by the way, against Nichols, they just played their best defensive game in probably a month. And that actually might be generous. The arrow has a chance to point up here. It's up to them. That's the whole caveat. I can look at this and we can go through it all like we just did, and I can tell you they're doing better offensively. They look like they found their lineup. I can tell you how strong the pitching staff looks. They're trending in the direction of being strong. I can tell you all of that. The one thing we didn't mention, the one thing that still eludes this team is consistency. That's the next step. That's how LSU makes the run. They have to find consistency. They have to figure out how to make sure what happened at Missouri on Saturday doesn't happen. So how do they do that? Well, for one, you keep playing hard, attention to detail, mindset. You go to the park ready to play, ready to win. You understand the plan that coach is putting forth. That's how. Because they've got the talent. And they might just have the schedule back. No, they do have the schedule back in their favor, but they might be playing their best baseball to coincide with that, which could absolutely lead to them making a run down the stretch and getting into the NCAA tournament, whether that is through winning a few games in Hoover or getting scorching hot and getting there before Hoover, which is a possibility. It's not one that I still foresee because I have to see the consistency, but that's the next step. We talked about the great start Gage Jump had. He has to carry it forward. Okay, do that. Like, that's the next step in building consistency. Paxton Cing's doing great in his last 11 games. Can you do great in your next 11 games? Can you keep that going? That's building consistency. Stephen Milam, the same thing. Can you do that in your next 11 games? That's building consistency. Nate Ackenhausen's been great for 2 weeks. Can you make it 3? Can you make it 4? That's building consistency. And if they do that, they're going to win games. A lot of them. And they might even sneak one that they shouldn't win. There's 2 series we've pointed to that LSU shouldn't win down the stretch. If you're listening, if you've been listening, you know which 2 they are. You can pick which one you think I'm talking about. But that's what I see from this team right now. That's where they're going. The right direction. Building consistency is the key to getting to the end game, which is finishing this season strong, getting into the NCAA tournament, going on the road to a regional, and letting the chips fall where they may. But one thing that is undeniable and encouraging is they are making strides, and they're doing things at this point in the season that they haven't done yet, no matter what point of the year you point to. And that is encouraging. And that leads me to believe that, all right, they might be getting close to finally turning the corner. We'll see. You know we'll have you covered here, wall to wall on Musso at the Box. Get subscribed, smash the like button, subscribe on the YouTube channel, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, follow me all on social media, and be here next time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll have more Musso at the Box.